What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're here. You can find daily videos Monday through Friday covering all the four major sports, whether it be NFL, NBA, NHL, or MLB. And in today's NFL episode, Nick, we're going to be talking another episode about a team. Have they missed their Super Bowl window? And it's a team that many people are going to, at first glance be like, oh, whoa, like you're talking about the 49ers. But yes, we are. And I think it's for a couple of reasons. Nick, I've kind of prefaced throughout the whole offseason, one of the biggest challenges in the NFL is especially with the 49ers, how many times they've grinded through the regular season, been one of the top teams and just lose every season right before the mountaintop. It's like, how many times can you keep pushing that rock to finally get over the hump? Because you've been to 2 Super Bowls, like 4 NFC chip championship games like the last 5 years. How much longer until they actually are able to win it if they can? Because some of these players are aging. You're getting even though he's still one of the best in the league, Trent Williams is becoming another year older. The offensive line is raising more question marks. Wasn't as strong as it was a couple of years ago, and now you're entering a part where this is it. And there's been a lot of drama this offseason, mainly with the Brandon Ayuk thing. He wants to be traded. He's seeking a new contract. There's been multiple times where he's almost been traded to places like Jacksonville, bunch of different areas, and it hasn't happened yet, but it may be on the horizon. And Nick, just kind of one of the biggest questions. We talked about Dallas earlier. Did they kind of miss the opportunity? It was a lot more easier, I think, because we were kind of in sequence with, they're a good regular season team, but they've kind of proven nothing to us. And they kind of had their best years the last 3 because now they have to pay Dak, CD, and Micah, and that just won't be able to work. So we kind of were in consensus that they already missed it. But this is going to be a lot more dramatic because this is a team that was one stop away last year from winning the Super Bowl. But now they're going to try and see what happens with the Ayuk stuff. But do you think this 49ers team has missed their opportunity to win a championship with this kind of squad and regime and, Kyle Shanahan and all them right now?
I don't know where you stand on this because we have not discussed this. So I don't know if we're going to have different views, but I say no, they haven't. I think the 49ers are a team that could 100% get back to the Super Bowl this year, next year. But I think the one thing that will always stop them is Patrick Mahomes. I think anytime they'll play Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, he's going to beat them. If they play any other team in the AFC, I would pick the 49ers to win that game. But I just think they have a kryptonite, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs, who are pretty much the entire NFL's kryptonite. But I still think this team, they just have run into a buzzsaw. The past 2 times they've gone to the Super Bowl. The first Super Bowl they really should have won. They were up by 10 with 7 minutes remaining.
What was that 4th and 15, the jet chip loss play, the infamous play, Mahomes bombed the Tyreek Hill to bring them back into that game.
They really should have won that game. But then last game they could have won. The Chiefs defense was, really good. And the 49ers played good that game too. Just, the better quarterback won them that game. And you could argue that the quarterback is what holds back the 49ers. I think Brock Purdy he's an upper half quarterback for sure. You look at, cut the NFL in half. He's on that top 15 quarterbacks. I don't think he's an insane guy, but he can win you a few games. I really do believe he won them that Detroit game in the NFC Championship. In the second half, he kind of was just going off with his legs. But I think they could get back. I just think if they play anybody but the Chiefs, I think they could win the Super Bowl. But I don't think they can beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
May sound like a crazy hot take. Obviously, this team still is the great talent, but I still really need to see that Ayuk situation because if they trade him away or he just doesn't play, they're not making it back 100% guaranteed. But
guaranteed.
At least this next season. Depends how because then they probably draft a receiver, and if he pans out, then the things are back on track. But the next season, because the draft already happened this season, they're just kind of losing Ayuk for this season, no matter the picks they gain in future. I wouldn't see a way they'd be back at least this next season. But If everything stays, if Ayuk stays, because he's on the team now, I'm gonna assume he plays. I would say I don't know if they can get back to the Super Bowl. I still think there'll be a division winner around there, but I mean, they almost lost in the divisional round to the Packers, and the Packers only are going to get better through experience and youth. They came back against the Lions, who were up 17 on them. The Lions trade for Carlton Davis, add DJ Reader to that defense, so they got better. You know, are they better than the Lions now, who have the best offensive line, a really solid QB similar to Brock Purdy, a great running game? It's not a McCaffrey, but Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs entering year two. That's a really good tandem as well. Receivers, you kind of, Debo and Ayuk, but for the Lions, they have plenty of weapons as well with LaPorta and St. Brown. So, it's kind of just like in a Jameson Williams breakout may be possible. I just don't know, because I think a lot of the teams in the NFC got better, and I don't know if this team quite did. So it's just going to be more of a challenge to grind through the regular season again. They're not going to be able to beat the Bears by like 30, like maybe last year. When the Bears now look like a playoff team, maybe, if everything works out. So I still think this team wins like 10, 11 games, but it's not going to be the 13, 14. And I don't think they'll have the 1 seed again. And it's just going to come down to, could they be able to pull off something where they go into like, Detroit, Green Bay, win playoff games? Maybe, but it's just going to be a lot tougher for them to get back. And they were, wins are wins. They were, coming back from 17 points. Jordan Love just threw them in 2 dumb throws to win them that game against Green Bay. I don't know if they'll be able to, have all those bounces go their way again in the next run.
I definitely see what you mean. And going back to the point you made about Ayuk, that for this year is definitely, I agree with you, is like that's the make or break thing. Like with me, I'm considering just like you said, he's on the team. I'm expecting him to play for the 49ers.
But I just seen some trade rumors. Like I don't know, but I was just throwing out a hypothetical. Like if they were to trade him for whatever, like a Diggs package or hire Diggs like a first rounder and something else. If that first rounder turns out to be the next, Justin Jefferson, like the Diggs Jefferson, that could obviously bring them back. But since the draft already happened, they would just be getting significantly worse this season, which is why they would be no shot for me Super Bowl.
And so is it because I'm sure teams have called. Is it the 49ers that just don't want to deal him, obviously?
I think it's kind of a little bit of both. They're obviously seeking his trade thing, but I don't know what they're kind of waiting for. Maybe they just want more of an offer, because I think that Jacksonville was willing to trade that pick that they had picked 23 for Ayuk. So that, I think that was pretty good value, because, you then the 49ers could selected someone like Brian Thomas, or even trade back to get Keon Coleman or something, a guy that they like. But I think they also want to really keep Ayuk, because you saw this season was really his breakout. So, it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, but that's obviously the huge surrounding mess in the Bay Area right now.
No, I definitely, because I'm just surprised, because I feel, in my opinion, Brandon Ayuk was probably the most underrated receiver last year. I think he's like, because he's still 25 or 26, like he's young.
Yeah, he was drafted in like 2020.
Yeah, he's like an incredibly good wide receiver. I know that his name wasn't even getting thrown around for the Patriots. Like before the draft, they were saying like, oh, are they going to trade, that number 34 pick they have, which was, essentially a late first round pick. And I was like, if they can do that, absolutely do it. Because you're pretty much drafting, Brandon Ayuk in the second round rather than taking a chance on somebody else. But
maybe that's a team they're waiting on, a team like the Patriots who need a wide receiver. Maybe they're waiting, maybe, I'm not sure how it would work, but if they would just let him play out this year, franchise tag or whatever, maybe they're waiting on him, and then his value is at an all-time high. I think it's at an all-time high right now, just based on the year he had. So maybe they're waiting for like the Patriots. All right, we'll give you the first, because they have the cap space to pay him. All right, maybe we'll give you a first round pick and like a second or third rounder, just get as much value for him as you can to get him. So maybe that's a team that they're waiting on, a team like the Patriots.
Yeah, because he would be definitely a receiver like as a fan that I'm okay with. He's young, he's good. That I don't know, how much say he has and where he gets traded because, obviously the Patriots aren't an ideal situation for a wide receiver right now. He would clearly be the wide receiver
He
one.
clearly wants money though. So if I'm him, I'm not.
He's not. He can't really get a much better situation than he has right now, and he wants
Yeah,
out. So
you can't have it both ways. It's either you'll take less and play to be in a great situation, or you'll get paid the money you want and maybe not be in the best situation. But that's what you deal with in the NFL. There's no I guess the only ideal spot, but I don't think they have the cap space, would be the Chiefs because they obviously need a wide receiver. But the 49ers, I don't think would ever do that. And so, but mainly there isn't a team like that out there just waiting for you. Sleeper team, maybe if they ever get the cap space with Josh Allen's contract, would be Buffalo. I'd love to see him team up with.
I wouldn't like that just because.
Yeah, I know you and I know you. But just thinking, there isn't a way for him to go to Cincinnati or anything because they have their own problems. So you're gonna go to a team that maybe has some question marks like the Patriots, but you're gonna have to deal with it because you're gonna get paid the most money you can. So, can't have it both ways. But yeah, that's obviously a huge drama and just kind of some other question marks. Start of the season we've talked about too, the Dre Greenlaw injury. How long is he going to be out for? Because he was a big part to their defense. So is that defense worse to at least start next season? Probably because we'll see. I think Hufanga will be ready, but he also suffered a season-ending injury and didn't play in the playoffs. So that'll be an interesting one. See where he's at. But yeah, just kind of it's a really good team still, but there are some much more holes. Like this offensive line, despite having Trent Williams, isn't as strong as it was a couple seasons ago. So they just kind of have to figure it out, make do. Can Brock Purdy even take another step to his game entering year 3? That'll be a huge question mark as well.
And as good as Trent Williams has been, he's getting up there in age, even as an O lineman, that takes a toll on you.
You never know when guy can hit that cliff.
Yeah, you gotta hope for his health because you can't just rely on it because they rely so heavily on him in their run game. That's why their run game has been so good, is because he's probably been the best O lineman in the past 3 or 4 years, and they designed so many plays pretty specifically for him to just run the ball behind him. So that's going to take a toll eventually. So they do have to hit our window. But I still do believe they can win a Super Bowl. I know you're more on the iffy, you got to see it to believe it side. But
it's just some other things that really bounced their way last year, like a Christian McCaffrey perfect healthy season. We've known how he is with injuries. So, that was a blessing last season. I hope he stays healthy, but just given his injury history, that it's not guaranteed that he plays a full season. Deebo Samuel staying healthy most of the year. He obviously is an injury guy as well. So just kind of, I just feel like last year was really their year. And it's just kind of, we'll see what happens. But, at the end of the day, that we can only kind of just wait and see with this team because they, are always back in the dance and going far. So, I'm not going to rule them out until obviously I see a decline, but I just don't know if they'll be able to, reach back to the Super Bowl. Because I just think other teams in the NFC got better, but it'll be interesting because this team, one thing they have done is, run through the NFC when they're healthy. So give them the benefit of the doubt there, but should be interesting. They're definitely going to be a team. I'm curious to see how they look the first couple weeks of the season. Because the Super Bowl hangover has been a real thing for some of these teams. So we'll see what happens. Because even it was a lot of injuries, but even the season after they made it to the Super Bowl, they only won 6 games. And there was a lot of injuries in there with Nick Bosa, Deebo, Jimmy G. But, Super Bowl hangover is a real thing. So, we'll have to see what happens there. But with that being said, we're going to be, talking about a bunch of other teams and definitely contenders just because those are obviously more fun, teams that we know are going to be competitive this upcoming season. But let us know in the comments what you guys agree and disagree with. Have the 49ers, Super Bowl window closed, or is it still wide open? Team's going to be there for the next 5 years. So I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts in the comments. As always, though, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, and we'll catch you next one. Peace.